Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, rather. My name is Dave Chapman. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at ANX International, and to my side, I have Mr. Liam Bussell, Marketing Manager at ANX International.
Hi, guys.
I'll start by saying this is actually my first event, or first Consensus NYC event I've attended, and I have to say that I'm actually blown away with the levels of continued investment, creativity, innovation that's securing the maturity of blockchain and associated technologies. It's absolutely amazing. I'm absolutely blown away. Today, we're announcing the launch, or we're revealing more details with respect to the OpenANX Foundation and the OpenANX project itself. But before we do that, let's quickly recap where we're at with today's markets. It's of no surprise to anyone in this room where we're at with the market cap of the products such as Bitcoin, Ethereum. The amount of investment pouring into cryptocurrencies right now is crazy. It's predictably crazy, and it's an exciting time. We're seeing all-time highs almost be reached on almost every other day. We're seeing transaction volume increasing as well. The interesting thing about the transaction volume is that 75% of the retail reported volume is exchanged through a mere 9 centralized exchanges. And this isn't ideal. And it's not ideal for a number of reasons. What are the alternatives if we're not using centralized exchanges? It's not ideal to use centralized exchanges for a number of reasons. There is fragmented liquidity, which sometimes results in poor pricing. We also don't know a lot of the time who's actually operating the exchange or what operating models they have in place to secure the operation and their funds or their customers ultimately. The technologies that the centralized exchanges used is closed. Okay, we don't know what it is that they're using. Is it a fair level playing field? Time and time again, we've seen exchange engines halt. We've seen trades reversed. We've seen profits unwind because of these glitches. Okay, there has been some improvement on licensing and regulation, which is perfect, which is great. I'm all for that. But we still don't know, or that doesn't guarantee security. Time and time and time again, as Eric just mentioned, we see these hacks, which at worst means the significant and all loss of customer funds, or at best, socialized losses across all of its participants. But what's the alternative to using centralized exchanges? We can try and use OTC, okay, the over-the-counter market. More volume trades through OTC than what they do on retail exchanges. But we still exhibit that counterparty risk that we still have when we use a centralized exchange. And using OTC is exclusively reserved for large block trades. The general ticket size is about $100,000 or equivalent. That doesn't help average Joe acquire cryptocurrencies. Okay, we should be encouraging new entrants to this market. OTC doesn't do that. We have decentralized exchanges. Eric just gave us an awesome presentation on Prism. The problem with some of the decentralized exchanges is the low liquidities make them unviable, but ultimately decentralized exchanges now provide no effective means to get real-world assets onto or off the decentralized exchange. If a new entrant to the market wants to buy cryptocurrencies using their USD, they can't do that today using decentralized exchanges. Now, I've talked a lot of negative things around centralized exchanges, and ANX International actually operates a centralized exchange, ANX Pro, and it too falls foul of all the bad things, all the negative of the centralized exchange points I've made today. The OpenANX proposition proposes that we take centralized exchanges and we chain them into collateralized asset gateways that will use the decentralized exchange. As an asset gateway, I can choose to electively post collateral into the decentralized exchange to prove to my customers that I'm financially solvent to do so. Now, as a participant of the decentralized exchange, I can choose an asset gateway that is collateralized to the tune of 100%, knowing that in a black swan event, I will actually get my funds back and returned to me. I may also choose to use an asset gateway that is only collateralized to 20% of the IOU tokens that it's just distributing to its customers. But perhaps that asset gateway that is only collateralized to the tune of 20%, perhaps it's been in the industry for a long time. Perhaps it's got a good reputation. Perhaps it's operating in a jurisdiction that requires it to be licensed. The difference is the choice is mine. I can choose to take that risk, and it's completely transparent. Okay? Did you want to?
Yeah. I was just going to reiterate a little bit what Dave was talking about earlier, and also what Eric talked about. On the early slides when we were talking about the losses, everyone's aware of them, but if you actually break the numbers down, at today's money, the losses are about 1.62 billion, which is about 2% of the market. So if you walked out of here and got in a car knowing that you would get, there's a 2% chance you got seriously injured or killed, you would reconsider your relationship with cars. But that is something that we sort of have to deal with on a day-to-day basis working in this industry. So everyone is aware that there's problems with the centralized model. Everyone thinks the decentralized model is potentially the future, but we're still ironing out some of the issues. So we have a bit of a vision as to what our vision of the future is. And so it may not be the only vision, but we think it's a fairly good one.
The proposition also introduces credit markets, which allows credit traders to trade the credit worthiness of open gateways, or open asset gateways rather. So that's a pretty big intention for us. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that there is a lot of decentralized technologies coming out now. We're talking about Raiden, 0x, Prism. The Open ANX project is actually complementary to. They will actually use the Open ANX exchange as a decentralized exchange. This isn't trying to compete with those technologies itself.
Yeah, just on that, I mean, obviously, we talked about that one issue about getting off-chain assets onto the chain, and that's really where we see the value of this sort of system as a complementary model to the decentralized exchanges that already exist.
Yep. The Open ANX Foundation is a non-profit that's been established in Hong Kong. We will be raising a token sale in July the 22nd to fund a prototype of the Open ANX distributed a decentralized exchange. Our aspirations is that the membership, the tokens will represent membership in the Open ANX project, and our aspirations is that the members will govern the actual Open ANX decentralized exchange. ANX itself will be a supplier merely to get the prototype up and running, and then its members will actually vote and make decisions on whether they opt for a different supplier, more suppliers, more asset gateways, and so on.
Yeah, I think Dave covered it very well. I would just, June 22nd, it's the ICO.
Questions, please, guys.
So with these collateralized gateways, if something goes wrong, how do we get some consumer protection?
Sure. So the Open ANX Foundation will use international arbitration courts. So there will not be a hierarchy of elected people or respected people in the community. The actual event will be decided by an international arbitration court.
So just to clarify a little bit more on that point, let's say that Dave and I represent two different gateways. I'm 20% collateralized, he's 50% collateralized. You're investing in us. You give us $1,000 to buy half a Bitcoin. That wouldn't quite do it today, but you know what I mean. But Dave is highly collateralized, so he can actually position his fees a little bit higher because that can be his model of business. I'm a lower, newer model. I have low fees. So essentially, if you put your money with me, I'm collateralized 20%. You're guaranteed 20% return. Dave is 100%. He's guaranteed 100% return. So really, it's up to the exchanges how they want to invest. Any more questions? Sorry, any more?